Guys, today we are going to work a little bit more on unit rate and getting something down to 1. It's going to be the same process almost every single time, but I want you to make sure you understand that every time we do a ratio and every time you put your categories in, that you need to get something down to 1. Right, so for example, let's start with lesson 3. This is a test problem. It says a farm stand sells oranges in 3-pound bags for $3.75. 3-pound bags for $3.75. That is your ratio. So you need to put your categories of pounds and dollars. So a 3-pound bag costs $3.75. The question says, what equation represents the cost C? Stop. Remember, whenever you're reading your word problem and the very first thing that it asks for, what equation represents C? You're like, oh, what equation represents C? That means it should start, your equation should start with C equals. This is going to be C represents something. So if it says, what equation represents books? Then you need to have B equals or whatever is for books, right? So this says, what equation is like this with an equal sign. Remember our equation for our constant of proportionality. This is an equation with an equal sign. It says, what equation represents the cost C for P pounds of oranges, right? So if we want to know the cost C, then we know that our P is going to be over here. Remember that whatever variable is on the side of the constant of proportionality here, that is going to be your per one of something. Remember, your X is always your per one here. This is where your unit rate is going to be for the K, unit rate or constant of proportionality. Let me write it down, unit rate or constant of proportionality, same thing. And then this means per one of something, right? So we need to get our P for pounds, that's P for pounds, C for cost, down to 1. This is called getting your unit rate. And every single time you do ratios, you need to get it down to 1 somehow. So how do we get from 3 to 1? We divide by 3. If you divide by 3 here, what do you do here? You also divide by 3 because whatever you do to one side of a ratio, you always do to the other. So if we divide 375 by 3, then it is 125. This right here is the number beside the 1 is my unit rate. It's my scale factor. It's my constant of proportionality. So if you need to write an equation using your constant of proportionality, but the equation said, what equation represents C cost? It needs to start with C equals, and then after needs to come your constant of proportionality. So it should be C equals 125 per pound. And the P has the 1 under it. That's what this variable is going to represent, is per 1. All right? So make sure you get it down to 1. This right here is always your unit rate, always your constant of proportionality. Don't forget that. If it says, what's your constant of proportionality on this equation, you'll know that it's this right here. Okay? Make sure you remember. Ratio, categories, get it down to 1. Constant of proportionality goes here. This variable always represents per 1 of something. Okay? I will do one more. One more from your test on lesson 3. This is mixing white paint and black paint to make gray paint. This was a question also, and it says what 2 equations? Remember, for any ratio that you have, a ratio has 2 colons in front of it. For any ratio, you can write 2 equations because you can have 2 different unit rates. You can have per one side and per the other. So let's try that. We've got 3 units of white paint. I'm writing my ratio down with my colons. 3 units of white paint and 1 unit of black paint. And that is my ratio. That's what they mix to make gray paint, all right? Now we can write 2 equations based off of this. We can find per black paint and we can find per white paint, right? My per black paint should be the easiest. We should write W equals, B is my 1. B would stand for my 1, and remember it goes at the end because this one has to be per 1 of something. And what goes right here? your unit rate. Unit rate is always the number beside the 1 or the constant of proportionality. So that would be 3 here. Now remember, this equation represents per black paint. And that's just one equation that we wrote. Remember that we can always write 2 equations for any ratio. So we already did per black paint. What's our second equation going to be? It's going to be per white paint. And if you're saying per white paint, that means per 1 white paint. So you've got to get the white to 1. So how do you get from 3 to 1? Divide by 3. And if you divide by 3 here, then over here you have to divide by 3. How do you write 1 divided by 3? Easy peasy. Numerator divided by your denominator. That's 1/3. That is 1 divided by 3. So now your unit rate for per white is 1/3. So the new equation is going to be B equals 1/3. And now the 1 is under white. And this is your other equation. 2 equations, same ratio. This one is per white. Remember also that these 2 constant of proportionalities, these 2 unit rates, are reciprocals of each other. Remember that word. You need to know that term. Reciprocal means when you take a number or a fraction and you flip it. So the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3 because it's 3 over 1. And the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3. All right? And this is your lesson 3 video. And I hope this helps. Y'all have a good day.